A Chinese philosopher was asked what he thought about Christianity. And he said very slowly, it's a very talky religion. Now, we could say that about Western religions in general, probably. There's an emphasis on words in prayer, using the right words, saying the right things, so that somehow God will be pleased and do what we want him to do, most likely. And, you know, if we think about it, in our everyday life, people tend to talk more than they listen, don't they? Haven't you noticed? There's a tendency, we want people to hear what we have to say, but are we willing to listen? How many people actually listen? Well, when we just talk in prayer and we think about prayer as something that's just all about words, then we're missing what's been referred to as a missing link of power in religion and in spirituality. And that's the ability to be still and listen, to experience what in unity we call the silence, or what has also been referred to as meditation. There's a tremendous joy in listening, isn't there? There's joy in listening to another person. You get to learn something you didn't know. And in meditation, when you really get quiet and still and you listen, you experience something beyond words, beyond thoughts. Because that's where a lot of religion is for people. It's in thoughts. It's in, talking. It's in talking about God. And very little experience of. Even affirmations, in New Thought, we're familiar with affirmations and visualizing, affirming what you want, seeing what you want in your mind's eye. And we can experience joy in that, and I'm all for that. But words don't make God do something for us. Affirmations don't make God respond. What they do is they can align us in consciousness with this activity where our good is. Spirit is everywhere present. And when we affirm good, we're not making it happen. We're not going to make bags of gold fall out of the sky because we say, I am prosperous and successful. No, that helps align us with prosperity. We still have to take action, most likely. We've still got to follow ideas and train and develop and all that stuff. So even affirmations can become vain repetition, as Jesus said, if we're not connected with the source of power within our being. And that's what learning to get still and quiet can help us to do, is to connect with the source of power. The psalmist says, "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good." Taste and see. That's what we're after. We're after experience, not just talk about God. St. Thomas Aquinas, who was a great Christian theologian, he wrote volumes about the nature of God and about Jesus. And then he had an experience of God. He tasted Spirit. And oh, how sweet he found it. He said that everything he had written was like straw compared to that experience that he had of God. See, we don't want to just be, as the late Eric Butterworth said, overread and underdone. We've got a PhD and all the metaphysical lectures we've attended, or all the years we've been on the spiritual path, or all the books we've read. So what? What is that? Are we experiencing anything? How is that helping us in our life? That's the question. And learning to get still and experience the joy of meditation is something that feeds us from the inside out. It's tasting the Lord. In the New Testament, there's a story about John the Baptist who preceded Jesus and was an important figure. And he was important to Jesus. He was important to the whole coming of Jesus. He said Jesus is this person is coming and so on. So Jesus said of John the Baptist, he said, the least in the kingdom of God is greater than John. Whoa, Jesus, did you really say that about John? Come on now. Okay, it wasn't such a nice thing to say, but what he was saying is, if you have a little bit of taste of God, that's much greater, because metaphysically, John the Baptist represents intellectual understanding. Jesus represents spiritual awareness. So Jesus was saying, a little bit of spiritual awareness is much greater than a whole lot of intellectual understanding and analysis. And that's what I find with people with meditation. Oh, I know about meditation. Yeah, I meditated once. Well, you're missing a lot of spiritual awareness that way. I'm not saying it all comes through meditation, but we're talking about going beyond just thinking. We're talking about going beyond the ego. We're talking about getting still and quiet and connecting at the center of our being. A group of scientists were told they had an assignment to go learn about what the mango was. So they got real busy. They went out, they started to study the shape and the color. They smelled the mango. Another group were studying the mango tree and its shape and its root system. And then they needed the help of one of their guys who they couldn't find him. So they tracked him down, and there he was, laying on a rock in the sun, eating mangoes. Out of that whole group of scientists, he was the one that really knew what a mango was, because he tasted one. And that's what we're talking about the joy of meditation. We're saying that's how we taste what we really, really want more than anything else. Because, as the psalmist also said, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know. How often are we still? We're so busy. We got lots of distractions these days, right? The phone is buzzing in our pockets. The computer is chiming with an incoming email. YouTube is lighting up. I mean, there's all kinds of distractions. People are calling you. When are we going to get still? Be still and know that I am God. And what is God? Well, the Hindus have a great word for it. Satchidananda, conscious eternal bliss. Be still and know bliss. Be still and know joy. That's what we long for more than anything else, is to experience joy. Now, how do we do that? How do we get still and know? I've got some very simple techniques to share with you on how to do that. There's a lot of techniques out there. Of course, mine's the best. No, there's a lot of techniques out there, and they're all good. Here's a simple one that you can practice. It's important to realize that getting there is as important as the being there. What do I mean by the getting there? Learning to relax your body, learning to focus your mind, learning to sit comfortably. That's also as important as experiencing the inner love, the inner joy, the well-being. It really is. You can't just jump from, oh my God, what do I got to do? Let me answer my phone. Let me check my computer. You can't jump from that to stillness. It's a process. And guess what? It takes practice. You got to practice it. Just like learning to play the piano, you got to practice. Even a concert pianist has to practice hours and hours every day. You want to learn how to play tennis? You got to practice. I imagine a mathematician, which I can't do much at all, has to practice their formulas You know, you got to practice. You got to practice meditation. You got to practice being still, quieting the mind so that you can tune in. Eventually, you can do it like this. You can tune in immediately. You don't even have to close your eyes to tune in through practice to where your life can become a meditation. That's what we're aiming for. But in the meantime, we got to practice. So let's talk about a technique. First of all, we want to sit comfortably. Okay? Let's not try to sit on the floor cross-legged unless you're used to doing that. That's great for people who grew up in the East where they sit on the floor regularly. That's fine. But for most Westerners and the rest of the world, sitting cross-legged is not very comfortable. Instead of soaring in bliss, you wonder if you'll ever get up and walk again. We don't want that. Sit in a chair with no arms. It's recommended so that you can freely, I like to place my hands at the juncture between my hips and my legs with the palms up, sort of giving the message that I'm open and receptive to my inner self. See? And you can sit upright in a chair, and that's important to sit upright because when you're upright, your energy can flow up. This point between the eyebrows is the spiritual eye. You've heard it as the third eye, the spiritual eye. Jesus said, if your eye be single, your whole body will be filled with light. This is a great place to focus in your meditation time. So when you sit upright, your energy flows up to that place. When you feel uplifted, your language reflects the flow upward of energy. Every time you have a positive thought, the energy flows up. When you have a negative thought, it flows down. We want the energy flowing up. We use language like, I feel uplifted. You tend to look up when you're feeling good. You tend to walk up when you're feeling good. When you're not feeling good, tend to slouch, tend to look down, tend to use words like, I'm in the dumps, I feel down. So sit upright. And if that's difficult for your spine or your back, put a pillow behind you to help support your back. Now, here's a few ways we can relax our body. You can take a nice, long, deep breath, tense every muscle in your body, throw your breath out, and let your body relax. Because we carry tension with us. So take a nice, deep breath, tense every muscle, throw your breath out, chin to the chest, then let your body relax. When you tense it, then your body wants to relax. You can do that 3 to 6 times, whatever amount helps you to relax. When your body relaxes, then your mind can get still. Eventually, you won't need to do that. You'll just be able to consciously relax at will. You can sit in a chair and immediately relax. But until you get to that point, hey, it's a great stress release to do that. Even if that's all you did, look what you've accomplished. You've let go of some stress. So sitting comfortably, relaxing the body. Another thing you can do to help relax is to do what's called even count breathing. You breathe in to a certain number, you hold that number, and then you exhale the same number. So it depends on your lung capacity. But let's say you inhale to a count of 5. Breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then exhale for 5. See, you can do that 6 to 12 times. That gets toxins out of your system. It energizes your brain. You start to feel calmer. I don't want to do all that, Justin. Well, good. Don't do it then. These are just suggestions. You don't have to, but believe me, it feels good. And eventually, you won't have to do it. You'll just immediately tune in and be focused and energized to do it. But those are some ways you can relax the body. Deep breath, tense everything, throw the breath out, and then do some even count breathing. And then you want to sit still. Just tell your body, we're going to sit still for the next few minutes, however long you've designated, and try to sit still without moving around too much. What if I itch, Justin? Well, then scratch it. Don't make a big deal out of it, and then move back to your meditation time. So, sitting comfortably, relaxing the body, and then what we want to do is we want to focus the mind. Because as the saying in India goes, the mind is like a tree full of drunken monkeys. That's pretty wild, right? We know what a monkey's like, right? Monkey's eyes are darting everywhere. Monkey is distracted by all kinds of things. Monkey wants to do whatever it sees. It's ready to, go after. What can you do? You give a monkey a colored ball, and then the monkey is enthralled by the colored ball. And then it's playing with the colored ball. Give your mind a colored ball. What is the colored ball? Well, one thing is the breathing, your breath. Your breath is always with you, if you're lucky. It's always there. It's always working. You don't have to make it work. Just use the tool of your breathing. Watch your breath flowing in and flowing out of your nasal passages. Just feel it flowing in and flowing out. And when your mind wanders, which it will, just bring it back to watching the breathing. And that will begin to concentrate your mind. And as your mind concentrates, you'll start to feel something inside. See, so that's how you begin to focus your mind so that your heart starts to open. The mind wanders, just bring it back to the breath. If you have to do it over and over and over, that's fine. This whole idea of meditation is making your mind blank. No, it isn't. You can't make your mind blank. Unless there ain't much upstairs and it's already comes blank. That's how my mind comes blank. You can't make your mind blank. You got to give it something to focus on. So use your breath and keep coming back to it. Now you can add something to your breath. I like to add an affirmation so that when your breath flows in, you mentally think the words, I am, for instance. And then as the breath flows out, spirit. I am on the inhalation, spirit on the exhalation. Now that's a translation of the ancient Sanskrit, a great mantra that was used, which is Hong Saw. Hong like gong, saw like a saw. Hong on the inhalation, saw on the exhalation. It's an ancient mantra. I translate it, I am spirit. For those people who don't like those strange words out there in the East, I am spirit. Very simple, very clear. You can use another affirmation if you want. The main thing is to stick with it and focus your mind on it. And again, it takes practice. It takes practice. Please don't ever say to anybody, I can't meditate. It doesn't work for me. That is not true. It takes practice. It takes dedication. And guess what? It pays off in the end. It pays off. You got to stick to it though. You got to remain steadfast. It's not instant oatmeal. You got to do it. Just like nobody takes up the piano and all of a sudden they're playing Mozart. They've got to practice it. And eventually it becomes very satisfying when you're able to sit down there and play that piece you always wanted to play. So watch your breathing, use an affirmation, and do that process, that watching and concentrating the mind, for 1/4 of the time you've allotted for your meditation. Well, how much time is that, Justin? 2 hours a day? No, it's not 2 hours a day. It's whatever you want it to be. It can be 2 minutes a day. Just start with something. Do something, anything. It doesn't have to be 20 minutes twice a day. No, anything, 2 minutes. Anyway, if you allot 4 minutes to meditation, spend one of those minutes observing the mind, watching the breath. All right? So then that leads us into what we're calling expansion. Expansion. Expansion has to do with you've just concentrated your mind, your heart has opened, so to speak. It's a metaphor. You have tuned in to that presence of joy that's inside of you. The presence of love, presence of energy, presence of life, presence of wisdom, presence of power, presence of prosperity, all inside of you. Presence of love. And now it's time to commune with that, to use a religious theological term. Really, that's the true communion. Really, that's the real communion. This is my body, this is my blood. Oy vey, that sounds delicious. No, we're talking about tuning into that living energy of God. That's what all that is. The body, the blood, it's the living energy of God. The body is substance, the substance of God. The blood is the life force, the life energy of God. We all are utilizing substance and life energy all the time. Through meditation, you are drinking deeply of these living waters, and you feel very satisfied and fulfilled when you tap into those energies. So expansion is when you let go of watching the breath, you let go of the technique, and you notice what you might be feeling inside of yourself. What feelings have emerged inside of me? Now, maybe they're painful. Maybe you've been stuffing that feeling down for centuries. I don't want to feel that. That's painful. I don't like that. And now it's all of a sudden it's coming up. Hey, that's not bad. Course in Miracles says love reveals all that which is unlike itself. It's coming up to be acknowledged. It's coming up to be released. That's blocking your joy, by the way. That's blocking your wholeness. So let it flow. Most likely, especially in the beginning, you're going to experience peace, you're going to experience joy, you're going to experience well-being. You might see something. You might see light. An image of something might come to mind. You might hear sounds. The yogi sages talk about the chakras, the energy centers at the center of your being, which I know are true. They're real. It's not just some thing that was made up, New Age thing. They're real. They exist. And the sages tell us they each radiate a different sound. And you might hear something. Why is that important? Because when you listen to it, it takes you deeper into yourself. This expansion phase can be used for various things. You can talk to God. You can have a conversation with God. It's not just the author of that book who can have a conversation with God. You can have a conversation with God. You can talk to Spirit. You can listen to Spirit. You can ask Spirit a question and listen for an answer. Paramahansa Yogananda used to say, ask the question at the spiritual eye and then listen in your heart for an answer. This is a great time to develop your intuition. During this expansion phase, you're just present to whatever you're feeling inside, and you can grow in your intuition. The answer may not come to you in the meditation, but expect it to show up. Expect to be guided somewhere in your life as you go about living your life after this meditation time. This is a great time to use an affirmation to program the subconscious. It's a great time to visualize something you want to experience in your life, because now you're tuned in, remember, to the missing link of power. You're tuned in to that source. Now, through visualizing, you can help allow that to flow into your life. Again, it's not magic. You're just tuning in to that presence of good that is inside of you. And of course, you can pray for others. You can see your loved ones enfolded in light. You can send forth good thoughts, good ideas, good feelings to know the truth for them as well and for the world as a whole. So there's a lot you can do in this expansion phase. You see how you can be creative in that time. You've relaxed your body. You're sitting comfortably. You've begun to focus your mind by watching your breathing, using an affirmation. You did that for 1/4 of the allotted time to meditate. And then you took time to just be present to yourself, whether it's to feelings, to try to blend with whatever you're feeling inside. If it's joy, just be with the joy. Let it grow. Let it expand inside of you. Or if it's some other way you want to use that time, the time is yours, you see. Use it however you feel inspired and guided to do. Ultimately, meditation is not some made up thing. You know, we're not human beings trying to have a spiritual experience, you know, and this is just one thing that we do to make ourselves spiritual. No, we are spiritual beings. Meditation is simply a technique that ancient sages discovered as a way to help us tune in. And since God is joy, when you tune in, guess what? You're tuning into joy. And eventually it becomes instantaneous. You can sit still and immediately tune in to the joy of your being. Eventually, you don't even have to sit still. You can do it anywhere, anytime. So I encourage you to take a few minutes. How long, Justin? Meditate for as long as you feel joy and a little longer. Push yourself a little longer. That's it. Start out with a couple minutes. That's how I started out 30 years ago, with a couple of minutes, and it expanded and grew over time. Eventually, you'll want to do it twice a day. If it's a couple of minutes in the morning, a couple of minutes in the evening, great. That's wonderful. At another time, we'll talk about making meditation a habit, and we'll go into more of how we can make it a habit, more details about different ways we can do it. But in the meantime, you got the practice. Just do it. Find a place in your house that's quiet and start to do it, or do it at a time when it is quiet. Meditation is one of the greatest joys you'll ever have, because I'll tell you what, I love chocolate chip cookies, but too many cookies, not interested anymore. But let me tell you, when you taste the living joy of spirit, it's never stale. It never grows old. It's always new, and it's always satisfying. Yogananda said, "The Lord comes not in outward noise, nor when the mind is agitated, but in inner silence. His very being is silence. In silence, He speaks to the soul. And when she speaks, it is a joy to experience." Thank you, Spirit, for your presence, for your joy that is everywhere present, that is expressing in and as each one of us. We know that this practice of silence is difficult for many because we know the ego doesn't like to meditate. The ego resists it. But the soul loves it. The soul soars in it. The soul enjoys it. And we thank you, Spirit, for guiding us, showing us how to meditate, meditating through us. After all, you're the supreme doer, not us. We're simply expressions of you. So thank you for helping us concentrate. Thank you for showing us how to meditate in a way that's inwardly satisfying, in a way that we can experience your presence more deeply and more fully. We know this is not a difficult thing to do, Spirit. We know that it's simply a tool, something that can help us until eventually we can just click in to your presence at any time, just like Jesus the Christ, who said, "I and my Father are one. The joy that's in me can be in you, so that your joy can be full." This is what we're seeking, Lord, and we appreciate your guidance and your direction so that we can know you more fully and more completely. And so it is. Amen. Please join me in the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Amen. Thank you for joining us today for our live stream service. I'm Justin Epstein, and I'll see you next time.